Welcome back, everyone, to Visible Voices. I'm Juana, joined with my co-host Melina and Sita today. We're glad to have you guys back this week. On this week's episode, we have some really great topics to talk about. I'm going to let Sita lead that off.
Ooh, this is a good one this week. We are talking about LGBT. I mean, I don't want to say issues, but just like the experience maybe, and just kind of how it relates to our community and our Polynesian culture, and just get into it, and just like we have been the last few weeks. So you guys buckle up. I feel like I will probably have the most to say about it, being that I identify as like a gay Mormon girl. But I'm really interested to see just kind of like what your guys' take is on it, just what in general, just kind of like what you guys think of just the community or just it in general.
What do you think, Juana?
I love it. I'm here for it.
About it?
Yeah, I'm about it. So I would say I'm pro.
Yeah, okay.
Like I'm very supportive. I think a lot of people in my family and just in my friend group identify as LGBTQT+. So for me, I think, and it might just be my upbringing, but very open to it. I know it's kind of a texture topic for our Polynesian community, or more broadly, just Pacific Islanders.
Yeah.
It's a very taboo topic, I think.
Definitely.
And, yeah, I think.
I know you guys had like Pacific Fridays, and then and that you guys have also hosted the Pride prom, right? Yeah. So it's like so what has your experience been like with that?
So we host a Pride prom every June, and it's basically it's a chance for youth or young adults, or maybe more seasoned veterans to come and bring a prom date of their choice to this Pride prom. It's basically making space for the queer community to have their own prom, and I think that really was, although the people who host it don't identify as part of queer, I think it was a really important space for us to carve out. When I had moved home, I think there were like 2 youth that had committed suicide within the span of like 3 months of being home.
Wow.
And it came out that they all had identified as queer, and so I think as a community we came together just as artists, just talking about these like hard topics, you know?
Yeah.
What pushes a kid to not feel accepted?
Right.
And I think it's really hard within such a religious community for someone to, you know, live that truth in certain ways. And so for us, it was just a matter of carving out space. And I think that's all a kid needs, right? Is to feel valued or
protected,
feel seen and protected
safe in their own
safe.
Yeah, so. For me, I don't teach my kids that that's correct. I tell my kids that that's not what we believe in. But I also try to talk to them that if they are going through those things, that they can tell me. I'll still love my kids if they ever came out gay or lesbian. But at the same time, I teach them my beliefs, which come from the Bible, which is that man and woman are meant to be married together. But like I said, if my children if they were to ever come out gay, I would still love them. And there's a lot of gay and lesbian people that I know in my personal life that I absolutely love. Right. And just because I don't agree with their lifestyle doesn't mean I hate them. Right. It's just that I'm not out here just teaching my kids that it's okay. And I try to keep the conversation open that if they are, they can talk to me. But yeah, I don't know how you want to title that, but that's my thoughts on that.
I love that. And it's interesting because I honestly, so I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ too, who defined marriage between man and a woman to be just the definition of marriage, right? It is like one of the laws is the law of chastity that says like sexual relations outside that bond of marriage between a man and a woman is unchaste, is unvirtuous, right? And so it's interesting because
it's so harsh, but yeah.
No, I mean, like, what's interesting is that I actually, as a member, I believe in that too. Like, and so, and that has honestly been the journey of my life in navigating just these two things, like just this belief that I have that marriage is, a holy, like union, and that it is an eternal, like, sacred ordinance, but then also just reconciling this like this reality that I am romantically and sexually attracted to other women, right? And so I have, like, honestly, it's I love that you both are so, like, you guys are like have such different views, and on and on the spectrum would probably be like on opposite ends. And then there's me who's it's really interesting, just kind of
Can
how.
you unpack that for me just a little bit? So you believe that marriage is only between a man and woman,
right?
So you yourself do not believe. Yeah, just unpack it for me, because
then it's
your
like,
partner, your future partner is female. So by your standards, your marriage isn't ordained, like, so just unpack that for me.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I want the questions. Honestly, this is what it's about. Like, and so I think it's easy to assume that I would want my partner to be female, but because I do believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, that if I ever do get married, it will be to a man.
So then you're not gay, or you're not.
See, okay,
no, see what,
that's I love it.
Your sexual orientation doesn't.
Okay, because when you ask me if I'm gay and you're asking if I'm romantically and sexually attracted to another woman, the answer will be yes. But that is not how a lot of people use that term anymore. It's come to mean a whole lifestyle. It's come to mean because if you're asking me if I date other women, then the answer would be no. And like, do you see how those two things are different? Like,
no, I don't. Sorry, I'm trying to follow. Okay, so.
Okay, you know what? And I think this is what has been so hard for me navigating the space.
Yeah.
Is because right now, there's this huge push for authenticity, right? And to be true to yourself and I love it. I think there's a lot of truth and eternal truth in that. Like, when it comes to, here it is, like, when it comes to LDS theology, right? Like, it's our understanding that we're here to act and not to be acted upon, or not to not act. And a lot of the issues has come from from our culture saying, if you have these feelings, like, as long as you don't act on them, you're okay. Just ignore it, put it down, and suppress it. That's unhealthy. We know that that's unhealthy. With Mormon theology, understanding that we're not here to be acted upon, and we're not here not just to not act, the only way to respond to these feelings is to act, but within the bounds the Lord has set. For me, this is my thing. When I talk about being gay, I am talking about my natural ability to appreciate another woman's beauty, to be sensitive to her character strengths, to see her potential, to want to be intimate and close with her, not even physically, but just like on a real level, just connect, right? Okay. Right now, the world says the only way to be true to that part of yourself is to sleep with them. It's to have sex with them. Like, that's the only way. For me, I think that I have found that there are a million ways to act on this part of myself and to be true that help increase my capacity to love other women and to love like other people. So, and that don't include having sex with them. Like, and so for me, I guess another, like, I'm on my soapbox right now, but
I love it.
But here's the other way I see it. God loves men more than any gay man can love another gay man. And our Heavenly Mother loves women more than any lesbian married couple can love each other. So I don't think that God is asking me to love women less. I think he's asking me to figure out how to love everybody more. Like, and for me, like, I feel the most myself, the most in tune, and in this definition, I feel the most gay when I am in, like, living the gospel, when I'm living the gospel and when I'm living within the bounds the Lord has set. And so for me, even though but here's the thing though, a lot of my LGBT friends are like, you're not gay though, Sita. If you're not willing to be with another woman, and I have though, that's the other thing too. Because I explored this like to the fullest. I have, like, there have been two people in my life where I have really, where I have like seen them and like wanted that person to be my life partner, to be like the person I raised my kids with. Two people only in my whole life, and they've both been women. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's this, and so I struggled with that and everything, and I have, and so I'm still like working it out. I'm single. I'm living the law of chastity, and I'm just like, but just because I don't date other women. Some people are like, why don't you just say you're bisexual? Or like, why don't you just say, like, just not define, like, I don't know, just not use gay. And my thing is, if the word gay means that word much to you, then then you don't have to apply it to me. Like, I have only used that word because it has most easily up until now helped me communicate certain things. But to the point that it's more confusing, don't use it then. Then I'm just a girl who likes other girls who's living the gospel. But you don't have to call me gay. But like, I don't know, that was a lot. I went on a long
she did
right
say
there.
to unpack.
Yeah, I asked you.
Yeah, for the unpacking. So I want to hear the questions.
Do you find, because this is a novel perspective for me. Like, this is the first time I've ever had that explained, which I think is so. That's what's beautiful about your sexual attraction is it is a spectrum, right? But I'm curious to know, at any point did your identity, your sexual identity, ever be influenced by shame? Because I feel like, in my experience with really close friends who have identified as the LGBTQ plus community, weren't very well received by the church, and it was very suppressive. It was just very oppressive for their own identity, and I saw them have to like work through that. And as someone who like cares very deeply for these people, I would never wish that. I can see how kids do not want to come out to their parents, to their church leaders, because of how they are reciprocated when they do that. So I'm just curious to know if shame or the fear of what might happen. I mean, like you came out and you did it in a public platform, and like people know how you balance both identities. But I'm just curious to know, is that what motivates at all, or even started the conversation of how you identify now, is shame?
Right, like, so you're asking, just to be clear, like, you're just asking if shame has ever been part of like my journey in navigating this, like when it came to the church and like family and like them being received. So I feel like for me, my journey has been like it is really unique, like, to me, and because it's so different from a lot of other people, because my parents, like, I have to give credit to them. They're the reason that I have always been so grounded in the fact that I'm loved, like, that I am deeply loved, like, despite whatever I do or whatever, just loved. I think that honestly has been everything for me. So
you're one of the more lucky ones that your parents created an environment where you could feel comfortable in coming out. Yeah,
no, 100%. Like, when it
and
came to...
I love that. Like, we need to see more positive,
100%.
Positive responses or examples of parents that are more accepting, because I feel like we have a lot of the other side where it's kids are disowned. They're like, asked to leave the house.
100%.
They're asked not to be part of the family. And I think, that's been...
It's interesting because my parents, like, they really allowed me to navigate this, and like in my space, and just gave me my time to do it. Like, so, and what I love about my parents too is that they never jumped to any conclusions as to what this, like, I don't know, to what this means. Like, they were just like, okay, they just accepted it for what it was, and like, you just let us know how we can help you through this. Like, they didn't come with like all the answers. They didn't let their own fears,
they don't know.
Just like
they, you all are learning together, and I love that about your parents, that they just kind of took your hand and let's figure this out together. I think that's awesome that you were blessed with such amazing parents.
It was huge. I mean, honestly, the reason that I know of Christ's love and its reality is through the love of my parents. It's awesome. They're everything, honestly. But it's interesting because I did have an experience. I was in where I had an aunt come out to me shortly after my coming out video. So I mean, it's hard because I try to remember things. Because at this point in my life, my sense of identity and self, it's so fundamentally different from where I was and growing up, it's really hard to remember just how really difficult a lot of those things were and those realities, because the way I frame everything is just so different. I see things in such a different light, but I do remember it being a struggle. I remember like at 14 years old, locking myself in the bathroom and staring at myself in the mirror until I could say, like, you're gay. Like, and then at that point still feeling like no one's ever gonna know. I just needed to know for myself. And then what happened? Like, I went on a mission. That's where it really, like, where I was like, I'm gay. Like, I
and a lot of
struggled
people
with
say
it.
that it's in the mission field where those things are the strongest.
An LDS mission, yeah,
An LDS
for the
mission,
Church of
okay.
Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints.
Yeah. You weren't like in Iraq or anything.
Yeah.
Or just on some random mission.
Some of us will go on missions. Yes.
I wasn't. I
Still
went
going
on
on mission.
my mission where we're teaching and preaching of Jesus Christ and the plan of salvation and all of those things. And I really struggled with it at that point, to the point where my mission president sent me home. And that was a struggle for me. And there was a lot of...
Sent you home like before,
from my mission.
so like...
So women, for girls at 13 months, he sent me home at 10.
Oh, wow.
And that wouldn't happen today, just because our understanding of the experience has increased so much exponentially. But that was a really difficult time in my life, in navigating just the space and what it meant for me. But...
So it's good that your parents were so accepting of you. How do you think, like, would you say it, like in the Polynesian community, you coming out was like how do you think you were taken by the Polynesian
That's a good
community?
question, because I made a video in 2016, which is a few years after I came home from my mission, and I had been thinking about making that video for a long time. And it's like 4 minutes long. It's really not that long, but it's just a video of like me coming out and just expressing that this is a part of me. It's not the most defining part, but it's a valid one, and it's one that has like really bleeds into every other part of myself, and it's important. And if anyone needs someone to talk to, I'm here for it. The initial feedback I got was all in just like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. But then there were some who,
But then,
who, it's interesting though, because they weren't very vocal about it online though. Like the things I heard of people having a problem with, I didn't see it. I just heard about it from like other places. There was one experience I had with an aunt who came to me and was just like, tell me about this. And I'm like, what do you want to know? And she was like, I don't think you're gay. I think your parents like neglected you a little bit, like, or weren't there for you as much as a kid. That's why you feel this way. Like, Sita, you need a good Tongan man, because they'll never leave you. And you know, and
says who? Just kidding.
That's another episode.
And she came at me and was just like, you know, when I saw the video, I went into the bathroom and I cried. I cried, and so that's an example of someone who just didn't receive it as well. But there's just like so much to unpack in just that experience that it's like, it's hard to talk about.
Why she cried?
I asked, and she said she was concerned about my salvation. That's what she was.
Okay.
But again, I think it's this what is it called? This confusion though that we're talking about when it comes to the word gay. Like, if honestly, like, I don't know where to go with this, because there's so much, and I don't want to just like, I don't want to take up all of this time, but just I can. Like, I'm just trying to think of like more succinct ways of like, of saying like of everything I have to say. But yeah, she just basically was concerned with my salvation, just because it's her understanding that, like, you know, any act outside of these laws would prevent someone from like the blessings that come from being obedient.
I don't know. When I like, on the other end of people coming out who are gay, sometimes I get confused, because it's supposed to be liberating, right? Like, freeing, because you're being your true self. And then I see like anger and like I don't know, like sometimes I see them being more or like acting out more than before. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? What I'm saying is like, I wish I could understand more why they just always seem so upset to me. Can you explain something like that? Like if you came out, you should be happy, right? Because you're being your true self. I just don't understand why they break out the pitchforks and want me to put a rainbow flag in front of my yard and don't push your love on me. Like, why can't we all just be happy for each other? I mean, you got married legally, and like, I'm happy for you, but why, like, they just get so defensive, and I guess maybe that's like, I wish I could understand. Like, let's understand each other so I can understand why you think I don't like you because, or I don't know. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
It makes 100% sense. And I honestly, like, this goes so deep because I feel like these days, like, a lot of that comes from this idea that we have in the world today that to love someone is to, I don't know, is to kind of appease them. Like, really, I think that idea is rampant. Like, and as much as like we can say when we consciously like articulate those words, everyone is like, no, that's not what I mean. But that's honestly what is, I think that's underlying a lot of these things. It's this idea that if you love me, you're going to do everything you can to make me happy.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, I have issues with the LGBT community, and I have issues with the members of the church. Like for real. Like I have issues with a lot of people, but like I love so much everybody. But nobody's really making it easy. Like and building like really building bridges on either side.
Yeah.
Like so let's talk about this. What I know you guys have heard about it, BYU. The policy changes that have been made.
I have not heard.
Really?
I have not heard. No.
Oh, wow.
I just
man, it's just probably the circles we run in, so we see it everywhere. But so basically, BYU, private-owned church school, they have an honor code, and as part of the honor code, it had this it had this section that basically said, like, any homosexual behavior is prohibited, like kissing, touching, anything like that.
But then it changed.
It didn't change. It didn't change. They took that part out. Just the language. They just took that part out. They didn't change the honor code, but they took out that. Just because I think it's because it's vague, it's objective, it's like or subjective. Like, is this a homosexual act? You know what I mean? Like so they like in an effort to like clarify, I think they took it out. But then people interpreted that to mean, oh, we can just be gay, do that stuff on campus. Yeah, so then like everyone's posting pictures of them kissing on
So then
campus.
They did like a whole march, didn't they?
Yeah,
at the church
today.
Oh, even today.
Because then the school, after seeing all of that and the way that it was interpreted, school
put it back,
came out with a policy that clarified their stance, and they're just like, this is. They just clarified their stance and saying that's not what we meant. Like, they were just trying to just clarify the language they were using to apply the same, the principle that would remain the same. And people had issues with it and have marching and all of those things. What do you guys think about it? Like, about that?
What do you think, Melanie?
I guess because I went to a pretty liberal school,
Right?
That was like a non-issue for us.
Right.
I just find it, I feel, and I think it's because I work with a lot of youth who identify with the queer community, I just find that like them coming out is really, it's not the end. It's most times the first step in a journey.
Right.
Just because it's like, they're highly persecuted, you know?
Right.
Like, there are like trans women, black and brown women who like have to fear for their safety.
Yeah.
So I feel like for me, it's not just this conversation about like if someone is accepting or not. It's like coming out or just being yourself sometimes offends people to the point of danger, you know?
Yeah.
And like I feel for any youth out there the message that we're trying to send is that, you know, like, I don't know, I want youth to feel protected and feel safe and feel like they have people to hold them. And you know, with the BYU situation, like maybe it was frowned upon how people reacted because it seemed like an opening that wasn't there before, maybe like a platform that wasn't there before.
Right.
But in other instances, you know, like that can get people, like there's stories daily of people being, you know, like to the point of being beaten up till like an inch of their lives, you know, to live. And I just feel like in any identity, people shouldn't live in fear of who they really are and feel at all like, I feel like it's a lot. If anyone has ever held in a secret, I don't want to equate it up to that,
it's
but
heavy.
It's heavy when you're like
it
constantly
does.
having to think, you know, like, oh, if this person, like I have had youth tell me about how much they have to like alter their lives because they're so fearful of, you know, of who's going to find out. And then like, I can't, for me, because I also grew up in a home where my parents like very centered on love, very centered on like, we can be whoever we want to be. I just can't imagine having to like live in fear every day of like, who knows or who doesn't know. And like, it was really interesting, like Utah, I just found out about the Love Loud festival, which was started because, you know, youth, LGBTQ youth here weren't feeling like they had a safe space. Even that, a festival that is dedicated to empowering folks to feel like they belong, they were so fearful of attending because they weren't sure who was going to be there and who, you know, what does it look like. Another thing that like for me as an ally is like I've noticed in the Polynesian community, we're even scared of just standing next to people who identify as gay because it's like I might get associated with that, which is like and for me it's like I'm very confident in who I am, so it doesn't matter to me. But like, what message does it send when you can't even like stand next to someone or like, I'm just here to support. And like, I loved how you said like, I will support my babies no matter what they identify.
Absolutely.
But like, we have to go beyond just like saying that we support. It's like,
but it's like,
you know, like it's just like, it's like, are you really supportive if you can't even stand next to someone or attend something on their behalf for fear of like, does this make me look gay? Are people going to start talking that way? It's like, that's on them, you know? Like, like, we're just here to support the kids that need it or like the people that identify. That's for me. And that's why I always find it like, it's not just a conversation of if you are, if you aren't. It's like, it's a safety, like, it's a safety thing. It's like, I don't know how to hammer that like, it really is like, and I have a ton of friends who like, identify and just walking down the street with them. Like, I can't imagine walking down the street and just fearing for your safety. Like, I know how it feels to be a woman walking alone on the street, but like, it's just like, I've seen it, I've experienced it with my friends, and it's just, I can't fathom living like that. And so that's for me.
I have a question for that. Okay, because, you know, I'm going to love my children and I let them know that I'm going to love them. But you said something like, you're saying like show it or support them. I'm just trying to understand you because I'm gonna love my child, but I'm also not gonna go marching with them or like go to their festivals downtown. Is that like, are you trying to say that that's not loving them then if I don't do things like that?
I don't think so. I don't think it's an absolute thing. I'm not saying that like it's either all love or no love at all. It's just for people who identify, because I identify as an ally, is someone like, I don't know what it feels like to be queer, and I don't know what it feels like to come out of the closet and like all that stuff, but like I cannot say that I'm an ally and not want to stand next to someone when we're being called out on to task. You know, like I'm not gonna sit there if someone is being harassed. That's what I'm talking about. Is like the allyship, like it needs to go beyond just being like, oh, I support them, or like I love them. It like, to me, it's like, do you love them enough to protect them in ways? And I would never challenge that in a mother's love, because I see that. I know that like you would never let, but it's, that's for me, it's very,
Yeah.
I love
it's
that.
a love text. It's
I
a
love that.
very
I love
it's a
that.
very close
Right.
topic for me, just because like I worked at a center throughout college. I continue to be, and it's always been because of the influence of those that were closest to me, and just seeing
what they
what
go
they
through,
struggled
what they struggle
with,
with.
and
Right.
like, that's not something we had to hold. That I had to hold
Right.
as a truth growing up. So I can't even imagine at such a young age, at like 14, to do it. And so that's why I think it's so important. I think that's why I'm so fired up and why I'm so passionate about creating safe spaces for queer community, especially youth, because I feel like they're the most vulnerable. And it really, for me, comes down to a safety thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I would never have to experience.
Right.
That me myself, like, I say I have Samoan privilege in the sense that I'm big, so people don't really like pick on me down the street, but like it's a real thing, Yeah, they don't come for me,
Right.
but like I've seen it firsthand.
Right.
I've heard stories where it's
Right.
just
No, and here's the thing. I honestly think that as people, we all want people to be safe. Like, and that's true. And we're in a time too where it's really clearly understood that shame is not the means, it's not effective in creating anything that we want to create as people. Like when it comes to lasting meaning or like finding purpose or just like creating connection. Like I really believe that my issue with the LGBT community is that they're like, and I hate to, I don't know, just kind of make it they, me, or like anything like that. Yeah, I hate to do that, but like, for example, like with the BYU thing, it's like, here's the thing. I just saw this post on Facebook, and somebody said, when I went to India, and in order to enter a mosque and see their, witness their rituals and all of the things that they do there, they gave us a long skirt to cover our shorts, which we agreed to and didn't understand, but we wore anyway. Right. And then afterwards we took the skirt off, and that was that. I would have, and like what the person said is like, I would have never protested in front of that mosque, like their sacred, like in their sacred space, how they like to allow
worship,
especially after I agreed to wear the skirt.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for me, I feel like people who are saying like, oh, religious freedom, individual rights are the same people, or who are like, let me like change, like who are coming and saying you need to change, like in your space. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I have a problem with. I don't think that's creating safe space. Like what I want is like, I want conversations to be about like mutual respect and mutual and also what's the word? Resilience, like resilience and respect. I want us as a community, as a people, to focus on the power of the individual and recognize even if somebody thinks some type of way about you, it doesn't affect the reality of who you are. Like coming out, like in 2016, people were like, I had people from the church being like, okay, apostate, like for real, like that's like the tone I get. And then I've had other people from the LGBT community, and it's just, there's so many assumptions made about like who I am based on those things. But what I hope we can do is focus on the individual a little bit more, than instead of associating everybody with their group identities, especially when they're not always accurate and they don't always apply. Like I feel like I identify with the LGBT community. I also identify as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ, but not everything
on either end.
Exactly. Like
all the way LDS or all the way LGBT. It's like, how can we create a bridge to connect the two? Because there is no bridge. Like they're this and they're that. So how do you think we can connect it then if you think they're so separated and you're not all the way this or you're not all the way does that make sense?
Does.
Is there a gray area for this where we can all come together and walk in harmony?
Or is it that, or is it for you, is that you can be both and still exist?
Yeah.
Like you can exist in both.
See, and there's some people that would say no. I actually have somebody who put up a status that they don't know how people go to church and are gay at the same time. Like,
yeah, and I can tell you this, if I thought the way they thought, I wouldn't be able to either. Like, that's what we have to understand is like, we all have our own like experiences, and we all have our, like, we all see things and like these identities in different ways. But I think where a lot of the issues are coming from is that we are not talking to individuals. We're talking to groups of people. I can't tell you how many times people assume things about me. They find out I'm gay and they're like, oh my gosh, I just heard this terrible thing about the church and the prophets, and what they don't realize, that's not relevant to me at all. I'm about it. Like, I'm about that. When I go in church too, I can blend in, though. That's the other thing. I don't have a shaved head. I don't have lesbian on my forehead. So I be in church and people are like, all of those gays are coming for real. Like, I get that message too. They have no idea. But we're not talking about two individuals. That's where I want to bring it to the individual. I think that's part of, and also I think we need to define what love is, because honestly we don't have the same definition, and that's where a lot of things are. That's where a lot of the confusion is happening. People are like, I don't know. I just feel like love these days is synonymous with kindness and peacemaking. And I think those are applications. Those are ways to apply love, but I don't think it's true of love in its core.
So define love for yourself. I want to hear what.
My understanding of it comes from just like my membership in the Church of Jesus Christ and the Plan of Salvation. Like, this is just, I'm just being real with it. Our purpose is to enjoy all of the blessings that our Heavenly Father enjoys, and that He all of the things that he is and enjoys, that's what He wants for us. And so it's basically I believe that it's the purpose of our being, and the, I don't know, like the focus of His love is helping us receive all that He has for us. And that sometimes does not include getting what we want. And that a lot of times includes discipline. Like, that doesn't always mean.
Oh gosh, so for that, beautiful. Does that fall into like, just rounding it back, going back to like, does that include not getting what you want includes not marrying a same sex, so marrying a woman? Because I'm really, because that's still so touchy for me. Because, so in the end, you would marry a male.
Yeah, if I ever get married.
If you ever get married, but you identify as gay.
Yeah.
And so would that be, I'm just curious, like,
here's the thing
your wants in a marriage.
Right. Because this is like there.
Yeah, your aspirations. No, I'm just curious because is it adultery when you're like thinking of like? I'm not saying that like
that's what's gonna happen. Right.
An adulterer.
And it really is convoluted in this sense. Like, talking about sexuality. For me personally, it's my opinion that sexuality is actually so much more fluid than we're ready to admit.
Yeah.
I really believe that. And I think that the issue is that like, these terms are just terms. They're just words that we use to communicate ideas. But the issue is that people are starting to use these words as their religion, as their thing, as what they are completely defined by. I don't limit myself to that. And apart from that, for me, I think attraction can grow and love is a choice. And I'm not going to be marrying the whole man, like, race of man. Like, I think I can have a happy, healthy marriage to someone I'm attracted to, because I think that I just have to find one, like literally just one. That's it. Yeah. I think that's possible for me.
Do you think that would be an issue with the male marrying that you?
It has been. I can tell you that. I've had terrible experiences in dating. When that's happened, I've had people like I remember.
How so? Like, they find out and
they find out, and he's like, I feel like I'm lied to. Are you thinking about another girl when you're kissing me? I'm like, how insecure are you? No, like if I let you kiss me, just kiss me. We're okay. Like, but he's like, I can't do it. Like, and he walked away, and that crushed me, honestly. That's kind of at that point in my life. It was after my mission. I was like, this is never gonna happen. But fast forward. A date I went on recently, this is like third date, and it came up, and and I was just like, oh yeah. So it came up perfectly because I had something to do with a project that I was asked to be a part of specifically because I'm attracted to women. So I just told him, like, yes, I'm attracted to women. That's why they asked me to be a part of it. And he was like, you're attracted to women? Me too. No worries. Like, you know what?
Awesome.
I feel like I would rather, like, and he was cool about it. He was like, you know what? I don't care who you're attracted to. I just care about who you choose to love. Like, and that was a really good experience. Like, that's a good response. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think it could be potentially a problem. But also, I mean, like, one of the things that the guy told me too, who had a problem with it, he was like, I don't want to have to worry about you leaving me for another woman in the future. I'm like, I don't want to have to worry about you leaving me for another woman in the future either. You know what I mean? Like, we act like, I don't know, like all of our attractions go away when we're married. Like, why would that be different for him than it would be for me,
Right.
and like so on. But that's not a very popular opinion.
it's
But
a
that's
beautiful one.
that's the one that I take though, and I
love it.
like, I don't know, I think it's different for everybody.
different for
And
everybody.
like, and just because this is my path, I want to make it clear that I respect everybody. I genuinely don't think this is everybody's path who is in the same shoes as me. Like I really don't. But and I celebrate gay marriage, and like I have tons of friends, you know, who are, I really respect them, and like
Yeah, and I respect. I mean, it is
like,
an individual thing, right?
it is.
No one can tell you how to be.
Right.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
Yeah, I was just curious, just given like where your stance was, and how that, because marriage is something I feel that's
Yeah.
you know central to a lot of people's end goals. I feel,
Right.
when you're dating.
Right.
So,
I think the thing that I love the most about what you said is that we need to focus more on the individual and not just group everybody together.
Yeah.
Just because you're gay, but you're not the same gay as this gay or that gay. You know,
Right.
you're a totally different.
Right. And
Like
some people
definition of
would
gay.
probably be like, you're not even gay.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. Like that's their prerogative to label me how they want. I use words that I feel
hate-
help communicate
hate
things.
identity wars, like you're not enough of this, and you're just
Yeah.
like,
For real.
So I just wanted to round out and maybe
Love
a
it.
final question, but how do you guys think we can do better as community with LGBTQT plus issues and the queer community in general?
I love that. I think for me, I think it's just being aware of like all of the assumptions and the baggage that we associate with certain words. Just be aware of those things and don't be afraid to ask. Like, again, like when people ask me if I'm gay, I have to ask what they're asking because it's not always the same. Some people are asking me, some people, they don't think about it, but they're genuinely asking me, do you have gay sex? Some people are asking me like, are you willing to date another woman? Some people are just asking if I'm just attracted to other women. Like those are like just knowing what you mean and just like being willing to talk about it, like, and meet someone where they're at instead of just blanket everybody.
Yeah.
And for me, I think I can help the community the most just by my own home. I think I need to raise my kids. I need to raise them a little bit better, talk to them more about this LGBT stuff, and just so that they're not ignorant, they're accepting, and that they're not bleeding into the community and making things worse, if that makes any sense. So to me, the best way I can help the community is by starting in my own home.
I love that.
And making my own home safe. 'Cause I don't
Yeah.
know, one of my kids might be gay.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah.
they can take care of me for the rest of my life. Like, I love
Yes.
them. Like,
Yeah.
I love it.
So,
Yeah.
And what do you think,
What
Juana?
do you think?
I think specifically here in Utah, I think we just need to destigmatize a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We just need to like,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
because I
All
think
of
a
us,
lot of people are
including me.
very fearful
Yeah.
because they don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
On both ends, from
on
the
both
LGBT,
ends, yeah,
from the
on
church,
both ends,
from
like
yeah.
we just need to destigmatize. And again, the point of this show is to have these topics around the table. And I wish that, especially with the topic tonight, is that we can openly have these conversations at dinner tables, and not be as contentious. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a battle every
Right.
time.
Yeah.
But I really hope that people can destigmatize and really
and see people as individuals too. Like I think that all goes and ties in together, because the one thing that I didn't mention at the beginning that I want to say is that like my views are mine. I don't represent the church. I don't represent gays. I don't represent Polynesian women. Me,
Yeah.
Sita, right? And like, and I think that's what we all bring to this conversation, and what I hope we can all just start like just doing in general.
Yeah.
Just bringing
becoming normal
ourselves.
to have
Agree.
a conversation
Agree
around it.
100%.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in tonight. As always,
That was a
please
lot.
leave comments, likes, suggestions. We can't promise we're going to read them all, but please comment below. And thanks for sticking with us. This is week 3, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.